If you are struggling with self-judgment, if you put a ton of pressure on yourself, and if you're always trying to figure out every detail ahead of time to avoid any possible mistake, please, please, please remember this. You are exactly where you're meant to be, and it's God's job to create that path forward. It's your job to walk it. We are taught from a very young age to source our safety from certainty. So we try to figure out every single detail ahead of time. We try to plan for every possible variable ahead of time because we don't want to go into the unknown. We don't want to go anywhere where certainty might escape us. And what this does is it puts an extraordinary amount of pressure on your mind. It puts an extraordinary amount of pressure on the little child inside of you who's trying to figure out all these details so you don't have to go into the unknown. And the irony is, when we put that amount of pressure on ourselves, it's almost impossible to see a path forward. We are so constricted in fear and worry and doubt that we don't even see the path forward, let alone walk it. This is an impossible position to put ourselves in. It only leads to more self-judgment. The peace that you're looking for fundamentally, it's a byproduct of trust. Of trusting that you're okay, of trusting that you will be okay, of trusting that the way forward is provided already, that you're supported already. And in that peace, what happens is we let go enough, we relax enough, we open enough to actually see the way forward. This episode is to help you stop that self-judgment, to start trusting yourself so you can see that path forward and walk it with peace, walk it with grace, walk it with ease into a life, a business, a relationship beyond what you have ever imagined. And I want that for you so much. We all want safety. There's a very deep, very ancient part of us that just wants to know we're going to be okay and that we are okay. And it's running this very old software from thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago that's just scanning constantly for our safety and our survival. Now, most of the time, for most of us who are in a position to watch these videos, our immediate safety is okay. You're safe enough to be watching a video right now, right? However, this program in the back of our minds is still scanning constantly on the highest level of vigilance, on the highest level of alert. And one of the things it is looking for is any little variable that shifts, any little change, any little glitch in the matrix, you could call it, where any tiny thing changes. Why? Because if one thing changes in what we are accustomed to, the mind goes, well, that could lead to more change and more change and more change and lead us into this very unpredictable situation in which we may not be safe. The likelihood of that, of course, is very small. But to our subconscious, it doesn't see things that way. It just goes, we're okay right now. Do not change a thing. We're oriented towards this hyper vigilance. And in that kind of orientation, what we're really doing is sort of assuming God's responsibility. And again, if you're joining me for the first time, when I use the word God, use whatever word you like there. Spirit, source, life, the universe, creative intelligence, divine design. I don't care. I'm going to use the word God, but I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. When we assume that level of hypervigilance, we're doing God's job. Why? It's God's job to take care of us. It's God's job to make sure we're okay. It's God's job to provide provision and support and love, etc. Meaning this, like if you look out your window, I'm looking out mine right now, I can see these trees blowing in the wind. As far as we know, those trees are not going, am I going to be okay? Am I enough? What's happening? Am I going to get the proper sunlight, the proper water and nutrients, etc.? It's just busy being a tree, doing what it does, taking in CO2 and producing oxygen, right? Absorbing nutrients, absorbing water and sunlight, and giving back to life. It's doing what it's designed to do. It's letting God do the rest. We're the same way, or we get to be. However, because of this baseline insecurity, we're trying to do God's job. So we're constantly going, am I okay? Will I be okay? What if that little thing changes? Oh, shit, I shouldn't allow that to happen, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what breaks my heart a little bit about this is when we do that, we ironically make it harder to receive the very thing we want. Meaning God's already provided the way, just like those trees outside of my window over there. God's provided what you require. God's provided the ways, the means, the supply, the provision, the love, the okayness, the enoughness, etc. That's part of the package of being human. However, we don't trust that for a variety of reasons I'm not going to go into today, but we don't. And because of that, because of our constant scanning, we don't stop and let go and surrender enough to be able to perceive, to acknowledge, and to accept that we already have those things. So the more we are scanning for them, the more we're trying to do God's job in creating them, the less likely we are to accept that we already have them. And you see what a vicious cycle that is. We keep chasing after something that we already have. And in the endless pursuit of the thing we already have, what happens is we miss the pathway to more. We're all here, like I'm making this video and you're watching this video because we're all designed and destined for more. Not in a selfish way, not in an ego way, not in a greedy way, in a way that just means we are God ever unfolding in these forms. We are designed to create more, to experience more, to receive more, to give more. It's the nature of the universe. It's always expanding. Life is always expanding. So when we are so hyper-focused on chasing this thing that we already have, we miss the opportunities. We miss the pathways. We miss these golden roads laid out for us to actually go be, do, or have what it is we really want. And so much of this is rooted in our self-judgment. So much of this is perpetuated by our self-judgment. To me, that's like the first brick that has to fall. That's the first thing that has to be changed to change this entire mechanism, which again is why I'm making this video to begin with. We give our mind an impossible task. Essentially, right, we are asking it to preemptively calculate every possible scenario, every possible threat, every possible danger, every possible outcome, every possible variable ahead of time before we ever utter a word, before we ever take a step, because we want to avoid uncertainty, danger, discomfort, pain, growth, all of these things. What that does to the mind, though, is it creates anxiety. It creates an unnecessary pressure and doubt and worry. It creates constriction. That is not the way the mind is intended to be used. It's an analytical tool to guide us on our journey, nothing more. But we're essentially trying to make it a supercomputer to process every possible outcome so we don't ever experience pain, lack of safety, loss, etc. You get it. What happens is in this constricted state, all we can actually create is more of the same. A constricted mind, a worried mind, a scared mind can only produce things of a similar nature. So again, we end up in this self-fulfilling prophecy. And my heart goes out to all of us who go through this. It's really painful to do that, right? I'm not trying to make anybody wrong for that. But how many times, right? I could raise my hand many times here. How many times have we been in a situation where we're just like, I just don't see the way out of this suffering, without ever realizing we are tasking our mind with a job it could never do, that's creating the pressure that is the foundation for the suffering we're experiencing. So one of the things I want to do here is bring you some peace, is bring you some surrender, is show you a doorway here where you get to give the mind a break and just let it do what it's supposed to do and let God do what God's supposed to do in your life. Because all the good things you want are on the other side of that shift happening. And I think maybe the most painful or sort of like heartbreaking aspect of this little vicious cycle we're talking about is when we create so much pressure in the mind, we have failed before we've even begun. We're trying to find a way forward or a way out or a way through with a map that only leads to exactly where we are. And ultimately, this process, this cycle, feeds the ever-growing concern that we might fuck it up, and that if we fuck it up, all hell is going to break loose. And that's the thing so many of us are trying to avoid at all costs in every moment. Most people are taught the language of self-judgment from the earliest of ages. It's like the common currency we grow up with, most of us, we see in society, most of us, and in every interaction we have with the world, most of us, most of the time. It's so much based in self judgment, in thinking there is something inherently wrong with who we are and how we operate. So, what happens because we have accepted this common currency, this least common denominator of self judgment, is because it is so uncomfortable to be judged by someone else, because it triggers our shame and our guilt, we will preemptively use that on ourselves. Our go to, most of us, most of the time, is to make ourselves wrong. It's like the lesser of two evils. We don't want to risk going and taking a new action or saying something that might be wrong that someone might judge us for. So we'll judge ourselves before we ever do it. We choose the lesser of two evils. And what this gives, and I don't want to get too intellectual here, but I hope this is really helpful. What this gives us is an illusion of control. Our real control comes in our ability and our willingness to surrender and to trust and have faith that God's already provided a way. And all we have to do is walk it. But because that is so scary, because it takes us so far into the unknown, we choose or attempt to choose a sense of control that comes from self-judgment. We tell ourselves what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, what's possible, what's impossible, and we just rake ourselves through the coal at all costs and at all times. Because it is so much easier to do that, or safer seeming to do that, than to go take a risk and potentially fuck it up and be seen fucking it up and be judged. And so much of this habituated self-judgment is to avoid making a mistake, to avoid fucking up, to avoid being seen making a mistake. Why? Because when we do, it triggers our shame and our guilt, which are two of the most uncomfortable, painful things to experience. Shame, I am wrong, who I am is wrong. Guilt, what I've done is wrong. We want to avoid those things at all costs. So what we will do is just judge the shit out of ourselves so we don't step out of line. The more judgment you levy upon yourself, the smaller the scope of your life gets, the smaller the box is that you're living in. And the smaller that box gets, the more controlled it is. The less risk, seemingly, there is of messing something up, of being seen messing something up, of being wrong, of feeling ashamed and guilty. So we will choose that almost every time because we're so scared of making a mistake. And we use our self-judgment to feed that cycle of constriction, that smallness, that staying exactly where we are. But that is not a path to peace. That cannot lead us where we want to go. So here are 4 very, very simple and incredibly powerful ways to stop this self-judgment, to get yourself oriented back on the path to what you really want, to build trust, and ultimately, right, to be willing to step into the unknown. Because that's what all of this is about. It's been promised so many places, so many times, that God's already provided the way. And if you look at your life and you actually look openly and honestly, you'll see evidence of this every single time. And we have to step into the unknown for this to be revealed. And again, to the part of us that is so scared for our safety and our survival in almost every moment, the unknown is one of the most uncomfortable, threatening places to be. Hence, this entire pattern, so much of it is just to avoid the unknown. So our safety is not threatened. So we don't make a mistake. So our shame and our guilt is not triggered, etc., etc. So here are 4 super simple steps. You could teach these to your kids. You could teach them to anybody in your life. And if you actually take them, if you actually practice them, they will change the course of your life. They will help that self-judgment recede and help you open to so much of the good that's here for you. Step number 1, be kind to yourself. And a simple way to do this, right? Because you can hear that and go, yeah, I get that idea, but come on, if I knew how to do that, I would do it already. Okay, I hear you. Yep. So here's a simple way to do that. Start practicing giving yourself what you most need in a given moment. Again, self-judgment is the go-to for most people. That's not what we need. All that does is reinforce our wrongness, our not enoughness, etc. So, the part of you that might be triggered in a given moment, what does it need? Do you need more love in that moment? Do you need more self acceptance? Or maybe you need a reminder of your strength, of your inherent capacity, of your fortitude, of your power. There's not one right answer here, of course. But the whole idea is when we are triggered or when we're facing a challenge, self judgment is never going to get us through that challenge. Be kind to yourself. Another way I could say that is be honest with yourself. A reminder of your strength is honesty. A reminder of how loved and amazing you are is honesty. Self judgment is a lie. Why? Because God doesn't create anything that's not already whole, complete, and perfect. Number 2, build the belief that you're okay and that you will be okay. So much of this one, right, is about focus. Where is your attention focused right now? Most of our attention, most of the time, right, is focused on a future emergency that has never happened and most likely will never happen. So return your focus to what's happening right now. Take your focus away from this future potential emergency that's probably never going to happen. The more you do this, the more you just return your focus to the present moment, the more you're going to see that you're okay right now. Even if you're scared, even if there's some challenging stuff happening or about to happen, you are okay fundamentally. And the more that you see this fundamental nature of okayness, the more that you see that in the moment, I am okay. And every time I thought I wasn't okay, I ended up being okay. It always has worked out for me ultimately, even in the most challenging of moments. The more you see that and accept that, the more you come to see your fundamental nature of enoughness, of wholeness, of competency. The more you see that you're always provided for, you're always taken care of. Number 3, give yourself permission, give yourself grace to make mistakes. Give yourself permission and grace to make mistakes. Lessen the pressure of trying to never fuck up. Lessen the pressure of trying to figure out everything ahead of time. If you scan the entire scope of your life, most of the amazing things you have experienced, felt, accomplished, done, they all come from making mistakes first. You wouldn't be walking if you hadn't been willing to fall down a lot of times. You wouldn't be performing in your job, in your relationship, wherever you are showing up in your fullest in your life, in your business. You wouldn't be doing that if you hadn't made many mistakes and learned from them. Please give yourself permission, give yourself grace to make mistakes. It is how we learn. It's how we remember who we are. And it starts to change the internal narrative that runs our life. Most of us anyways, maybe not all, most of us were given an internal narrative that says making mistakes somehow makes you bad or wrong. So we avoid it at all costs. When that narrative starts to change, there is freedom. There is peace. There is self-acceptance and love that will allow you to go walk the path that's laid out in front of you to wherever it is you want to go. And number 4, open to the unknown. If we want to go somewhere new, we want to experience something new, we have to go into the unknown and listen. The way we've always done things, who we've always been, has created your current results, my current results. If we want to go somewhere new, if we want to experience something new, we have to go into a zone within ourselves and without that we've never been. We have to go into the unknown. Please stop giving yourself, the impossible task of trying to figure everything out ahead of time. This pattern of trying to figure it all out is trying to avoid mistakes, is trying to avoid the unknown, and ultimately is trying to protect and guard our safety and survival, but it's oriented incorrectly. It has identified the future. It has identified growth. It has identified the unknown as a threat to that safety. But what you actually want to find is in the unknown. It has to be. Please practice these steps. This is the path to lessening and ultimately stopping your self-judgment, the amount of intense, unnecessary pressure you put on yourself. And first off, your life will just be better. You'll just feel better consistently. Second, when that self-judgment lessens, you open up to the guidance, the support, the love, the provision that's already here for you. if you're not so invested in keeping yourself small through self-judgment, you will open to a way towards what it is you want that will blow your mind. All right. Love you. I'm here for you. I hope this helps. Please subscribe. Please share this. I'm here if you need anything. Please reach out.